Hi everybody, Paul Langham here with a quick update for you in my series of videos as we get ready for the 27th of September in Brussels, where we're going to be having the first Benelux Internet Marketing Conference. Just on my way to Corfu town. I'm also going to do some more shooting, some good analogies down there for you. But this one is quite difficult for me actually. I want to make an admission, a huge admission, that I completely and utterly failed. I was a complete washout. I was a failure, and this is how it happened. When I was a very young man, a child even, when I was a child, I was sent to a boarding school in the United Kingdom, which was, how should we say, somewhat puritanical in style. Let's just leave it at that, or brutal, in other words. As one does when you're a child, if you're struggling. I was not hugely academic at this school because the competition was absolutely fierce. There were some very, very bright boys there who went on to universities of Oxford and Cambridge and such forth, those types of places. But as one does, when confronted with the situation, you sort of grasp out for something. And I found that I grasped out for the topic of music, would you believe? Yes, I am a trained classical musician. Probably people are going to drop on the floor now and start laughing, thinking this is absolutely amazing. Well, it is quite amazing, really, because there's a whole story behind it. But I tried to avoid a lot of the problems that were going on at that school, and so I became involved in the music school area of things, and there was a very kindly teacher there who sort of took me under his wing, and I basically busted my arse, worked my arse off, in order to become quite good at playing a flute. There's a car coming in here, guys, so you can proves that I'm still here in Corfu. And for flute is one of those things which you play this way, two hands, and you play this way. And I spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, at least 4 hours a day for I don't know how many years. And I think I made a video about the 10,000 hour trick, that you can become good at anything if you spend 10,000 hours at it. I forget which book that actually comes from, but it is true. You spend 10,000 hours on anything and you'll become extremely proficient, if not just underneath professional. That was the level that I had got to. However, I missed out a lot of the normal things that people do when you're teenagers, and I basically spent in between the ages of about 10 and a half, 11 and 21, I suppose, blowing down this metal tube which they call a flute. Okay, I'm making this slightly flippant, but you get the idea. What happened was that I had a disaster. This is a long video, I'm going to change my hand. I'll walk up here a bit. What happened was I actually had a disaster in terms of the fact I wanted to go to a particular music college, which was the best music college, which is where a lot of people who are extremely famous musicians have been, and they go. I wanted to go there because I thought this was the path that they expected, the top guys to go and all the rest of it. But the sad reality of the fact was I was actually not quite a top guy, believe it or not. Here was a problem with the self-image, comparing myself always against everybody else. I won't name the actual flautists, the musicians concerned, but you choose your guitar or whatever. If you want, you can compare yourself to someone who's at the top of their field, then you're bound to run into problems. If you're a tennis player and you compare yourself to Federer, well, you're bound to run into problems with your own self-image. Anyway, cut long story short, I applied to go into this college, into a couple of top colleges, and I was refused because they have two places. Competition is absolutely fierce. Two places, and simply was not good enough. This was a huge blow for me, massive disaster actually. I was going to Birmingham University. I wanted to get in there. I was refused there. I was also refused at the Guildhall School of Music, and ended up actually going to a different music college in the end, which was not the style that I actually liked. It was not classical enough for me, shall we say, given that the training that I'd had, and I found myself in a huge predicament. but I didn't want to give in. I didn't want to give up. So actually, I became. The path of the classical musician is quite difficult. You need to go through this certain level of training, this very top level training to get to the good, get into the good spots in the orchestras and things. But I didn't give up, and round the back door via playing in little dinner orchestras and things in England, in the UK, in London especially, I still managed to carve myself out a career as a professional musician, and I did actually play at a number of quite high functions, including playing for royalty in the UK, wedding of Princess Diana and Charles. Look what happened to them. Lots and lots of other things, adverts on the television, films, yeah, that type of level. So, and here the crunch line is, I did play one night only with the London Symphony Orchestra. So I arrived. The point I'm coming to is this whole problem that occurred, and when I realised that I would not be engaged, in a full-time basis in one of these orchestras, was a massive problem for me, because I'd spent 10, 11 years working up to this. I had nothing else in the pipeline. I had no other real skills. I had this family crisis at the time. My mother was diagnosed with cancer. She was basically, very close to dying at that stage. I was only, 18 and a half, or somewhere, I forget the exact age I was, but it was something like 19 and a half. Father had gone, left my house, had left home when I was 7. This was a huge crisis, and I was left with this situation I didn't know what to do. What I actually did again is that I basically didn't give up, and I just went off into another area, found something which was banking. I just went off into banking and started again. So the message of this very, very long video, I suppose, is no sob stories or anything like that, because everything turns out for the best in the end. I firmly believe that. My wife is just coming. Everything turns out for the best in the end. Sorry, I just put out, my wife just turned up there. Everything turns out for the best for the end, and I spend a lot of time in the banking arena, and in 2004 got into internet marketing, and I still like classical music. I do go to concerts occasionally now and listen to things on the radio, but that was a disaster that I had to handle. But you do handle these things, and if you've ever had a certain situation and you're stepping out of one industry into another, take courage. That a lot of people have been there. That's just life. So, on that note, we're going down to Corfu Town now, and I'll be back with you shortly.